Looking to take your sports knowledge to the next level? Just a fan of wrestling and entertainment? You're in the right place. Welcome to The Show with your hosts, Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of The Show. I am the one and only Hollywood JDT, and my co-host is none other than Stuntman Kirk. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. Got Memorial Day off. Just a special shout out to all the men and women out there who served our country honorably for our freedoms here that we are able to enjoy in the United States. And obviously, sincerest condolences and remembrances to the surviving family members of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice also for us to enjoy our freedom. So it's definitely a wonderful day to memorialize our fallen troops, and we're glad that we're able to be here to talk a little bit of the entertainment aspects of life. So let's get to it.
All right, guys. Well, this week's episode is all about Aladdin, Denver Pulp Culture Con, and we're going to throw in a little Broncos in there as well, like always. Well, let's kick it off, guys. Aladdin. Have you seen the movie?
Yes, sir. I saw it yesterday with my wife and mother-in-law. I know you saw it, I think, the couple days before that. So, yeah, it was really, really, really well done. I won't spoil it a whole lot for people. Except to say that I think it follows the original animated movie, obviously the Robin Williams Disney animated feature in 1992 that came out very, very well and faithfully. A couple divergences, couple different, I guess, new kind of modernized story points that they threw in there that I thought were well done, in my opinion. Did that come through?
I heard a buzz, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Sorry about that. A couple new modernized plot points that they threw in there that worked out very, very well. I thought, and then obviously I thought Will Smith did an amazing job as Genie. I know there was a lot of controversy around how he looked initially, which, that's just fandom where, fandom's ridiculous like that. Sometimes we kind of take ownership of things you don't really own. But otherwise, I thought he did an amazing job. I thought the special effects were great. I thought it was a nice, I guess, homage to the original 1992 film. Good live action movie. I think it kind of continues on with what Disney's been doing with their live action remakes. So overall, it was a good experience. I still don't know if it was the best one. I don't know if it was the best live action remake, but we'll say it was up there, probably top 5 of one of their remakes that they've done so far.
I liked it. I thought it was awesome. We were going back and forth before you even saw it, telling me how you thought it was going to be horrible. Just being an ass for no reason. But
I was being an ass for no reason and being facetious for no reason other than just to make life difficult for you, which I like to do sometimes.
But, obviously, it opened up box office for the weekend, $113 million off of the 3-day weekend. It topped off $207 million worldwide, ranking pretty high on the overall weekends for those. For Memorial Day weekend for box office, it was good. And I truly think, though, that it was a perfect, I'm not going to say perfect movie, but it was a perfect, just the way they did it, the live action aspects of it. I liked Will Smith as the Genie. I thought, obviously, if you try to sit down and just compare it to the original animated, it's going to fall short. Because just like if you did that with Dumbo to the original, if you did that with Beauty and the Beast to the original, Cinderella, any of those that you compare to the original, it's always going to come down and be less because the original was the classic that made you fall in love with it. So I think if people do that, they're going to be disappointed if they're comparing Will Smith to just to Robin Williams and just trying to look at it straight from that angle. They're going to be disappointed in that. But if you look at it as a movie all on its own and just the live action aspect of it, it was awesome. I liked what they pushed. I liked the story that they told in there. They told a little bit more of a Jasmine story than you had in the animated one, which was, I thought, perfect for this day and age and perfect for what it needed to be. And Will Smith, I thought, killed it as the genie. Did awesome in that role, and I don't have a single complaint out of it. I walked out of that movie thinking this was awesome.
Yeah, I guess if I had a complaint, and it's a minor one, it's not anything I would say major, but my lone complaint would be that obviously, we can talk about Robin Williams and how great he was in the original role, voice acting. You're absolutely right, 100% in that, we start getting into that mindset of comparing performance to performance, especially when we're talking animated versus live action. I think you're not gonna get a very, I guess, well-rounded argument, or I guess a well-informed argument, because it's just different time frame, different, I guess, platform that they're trying to do. What I will say is that I didn't really think, and I understand it's again platform versus platform, but I didn't really think the Jafar, I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately, the person, how he was portrayed in the live action movie was as well done, or as menacing, or as memorable as it was in the animated feature. But otherwise, I thought, you're absolutely right. It was pretty spot on, pretty great story. They did focus a lot more on Jasmine and that storyline, and kind of like I said, and not to get too spoilery with it, but they did obviously take a modern approach to the aspect of, someone choosing a suitor and all that good stuff. So I think it did. I think it did a very good job, outside of probably Jafar just not being as memorable as he was in the original film. But it was still a great experience. I really enjoyed it. I thought it, like I said, it goes up to the live action Disney remakes that they're trying to accomplish here for a new generation of fans, which is great. So we'll see how it goes. They got The Lion King coming up, which I think will be really, 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 really good. I'm hoping anyway, because that's probably my favorite Disney movie of all time. So we'll see how that rolls and how that goes. Hopefully they don't burn through their animated features here too quickly. But I was really impressed.
No, I was too, and I do agree with you on Jafar. I think that if there's one part that you say falls, that's probably it. That's probably the one downfall, is they didn't make him like in the animated. He was much more of that villainous, type thing. This one, he, not ruining it much anything. If you saw the animated, but it was very much just focused in on like that power hungry angle, without so much of the meanness to him that was kind of there in the original. I don't know if that was planned that way or just the focus was put elsewhere, but they kind of gave it that modern feel, but it just was missing that little bit from Jafar. I'll give you that. I will agree on that one. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I'm looking forward to Lion King. That's going to be an interesting one to watch and see. It's one of my favorite ones too, so I'm definitely excited to see, and I think it can be a really good one. I think they'll do a good job with it. It's going to be interesting all the way around. Just kind of see how this plays out. I like where they're doing with the live action mixes and kind of doing that, and I'm excited more and more as they put out, kind of shifting base there a little bit. But the Disney network, Disney Now or whatever, Disney Plus, that they're coming out with, the Netflix Disney style kind of thing. I think that's going to be an awesome platform to be able to watch everything on. I think I already got my kids pumped up and excited for it, and wanting it out now when it's still 6 months away.
Yeah, no, I think we'll see how it all plays out and how they're going to divide Marvel and Star Wars and Fox into the Disney Plus streaming service. Obviously, I'm sure people who listen to our show anyway, because they're pretty well informed of the pulp culture scene, that Disney is going to wind up controlling all of Hulu as well. So it's how they balance all that. I mean, it's, we're living in a Disney world for sure right now. So that's kind of good and bad at the same time, because it definitely, I think, for me, I'm all about competition and having, I guess, options. One hand, I really love Disney. I love Marvel. I love all those kind of characters and stories. But on the other hand, I hope we just don't boil down to kind of a Warner Brothers / Disney kind of, I guess, universe that we live in. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how they, like I said, they bounce these platforms that they're going to have. I'm definitely going to be one of the ones who purchased that. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good thing. I think it will be interesting, kind of everything they put in there. What they do with Hulu is going to be an interesting deal as well. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. Speaking of pulp culture and everything else, we are just a few days away from Denver Pulp Culture Con, and we are going to be there the whole weekend, live with interviews, talking to different guests, talking to some of the special guests they brought in, the fans that are going to be there. We're even going to moderate a couple panels on Saturday and Sunday. How are you feeling for Pulp Culture Con this year?
Underprepared, sir. You've gone above and beyond in getting us set up with this. So it's definitely a thank you to you for all the hard work you put into this. For me, I'm just going to kind of enjoy it. I've never been to the Denver show before. I've been to, obviously, the Colorado Springs Comic-Con a couple of times with you, and that's been an enjoyable experience, but it's on a much smaller scale, much smaller venue. So this is going to be definitely an experience. I'm looking forward to it. We got 3 days just jam-packed full of things. So I'm really looking forward to it. A little overwhelmed by it all, but I definitely think we'll give you guys out there listening a fun experience, at least listening to. So.
No, and I mean, I want to kind of run down a lot of it, and I'm excited. I mean, probably to a point that I think by the time we get done with it, I know you leave on vacation the very next day after we're done on Sunday, but I think you're probably going to need a vacation just from the weekend. Is kind of what I felt like. It's going to be like I go back to work that following Monday for the regular job, and it's going to be a probably a good recovery type day after a long weekend. And but hopefully, I'm excited for all that. I think we're going to get a lot of fun interviews. We're going to get to cover a lot of fun stuff and see something different that we haven't seen from that angle. We've been to the, like I said, to the Colorado Springs Comic-Con a couple different years now, and have been there as fans and seen it from that angle. It's going to be fun to do it from the other side. And this is the first time going to what was the Denver Comic-Con, now being Denver Pulp Culture Con. And I'm excited for it, and I think it's going to be a fun thing overall. It's going to be a good time. And we got a lot of stuff set up. We got a lot of interviews that we're going to be doing. We have Emily Raver Lapmin, who has agreed to do an interview with us, sit down with us and talk. Sean Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy, he's going to sit down and talk with us. Colleen Quickenberg, huge name in the anime world, she's going to sit down and talk to us. We have C.R. Richards, Darcia Arnold, two authors who have been amazing to work with. They've agreed to sit down with us and do some talks. Mark Grove, Sarah Salazar, two stuntmen, actors, actresses, and directors from right here in Colorado. They're going to be there. They've agreed to talk with us. One I know you were looking forward to, Tara Strong. We're going to set up an interview with her. Lana Parala, she's agreed to us. The Evil Queen from Once Upon a Time, and Michael Gray, the original Shazam, the kid from Shazam. He's agreed to talk with us and do an interview. And that's just what we have set up now. We got some game demos, some other stuff that we're going to be doing. It's going to be truly a fun experience. I'm looking forward to it. What are you looking most forward to?
I'm honestly looking forward to talking to the fans, taking that angle, and nothing against, obviously, the people who have agreed graciously to interview with us on our kind of fledgling podcast here. So we really appreciate their contribution that they're going to have for us. But I'm definitely looking forward to dealing with the fans, talking to the fans, getting that experience, especially just the sheer volume that's going to be there. I mean, it's, I've known friends who've gone there before, and they've always told me how packed it is, how full it is. So that's going to be fun for me as a fan myself, fellow nerd with all of them, that I'm going to be able to enjoy that. And speaking of, definitely anyone who's listening to the show, for any of the guests that Hollywood JDT just mentioned there that we're going to be talking to, please, by all means, if you could think of some well-rounded questions or some good questions that you want to ask, or you want us to ask them during our interview, that we can take, kind of examine, see if we can ask those questions. Please feel free, post them on our social media sites, contact us if you know how to get a hold of us, for sure. We definitely would love to ask any questions we possibly can that doesn't make it seem like we don't know what we're doing. So.
No, I think it's going to be good. And by all means, if there, whoever's listening, any questions, anything you have out there, for any of these guests that are going to be there, shoot them over to us. Any of the social medias, you can send us a message. We'll get it. And we'll put it out there. We'll do it as another, a talking point there for it. And, bring that up with our interviews, obviously appropriate as they can be. But I'm looking forward to this, man. The more I've researched, part of the switching from Denver from Denver Comic Con to Pulp Culture Con, a lot of it came out of that lawsuit with Seattle, or not Seattle, I think it was Salt Lake, that has, like, if it's, trying to make sure I got it right, if it's the comic/con in one, that's trademarked. Comic Con separate, not trademarked, as weird as the freaking trademark rules can be in the world. But it really all came down to a logo thing. But Denver Pop Culture Con, that they decided to switch it up this year to do a change with the name, to put the focus on what they do a lot with, and that's on the Pulp Culture Classroom. Check that out, www.pulpcultureclassroom.org, and be able to kind of check out everything about it. But they do a lot of stuff. They got a lot of values, quality service for kids in the community, and a lot of stuff that they build off of that, helping individuals, helping kind of just transform different individuals by educational, trying to find the best way to word it without, rephrase it, but I don't know why I'm trying to rephrase it. Their whole mission statement is as simple as this, the Pulp Culture Classroom ignites a love of learning, increases literacy, celebrates diversity, and builds community through the tools of popular culture and the power of self-expression. And I think that right there truly describes whether it's Comic-Con or Pulp Culture Con, whatever you want to call it, whichever event you're going to, that's what it is. I mean, you see people get to dress up, they get to express themselves as their favorite character and how they want to be. And, they get to dress up, whether that's as a character from a TV show or from a movie or, whatever it may be. They get to come meet some of these celebrities, people that they've watched on TV and in movies, or, that they've read their books or they've seen their comics, and a lot of this stuff. And they get to be able to kind of, be a part of that world for a day or a couple days, and be able to take it all in. And that's a huge thing. That truly is. And I think that's an awesome thing. I think it's awesome to see, just all of it. It's awesome to see the Pulp Culture Classroom with Denver Pop Culture Con. Those come together and be able to see it happen at the level it does, and level it has for a number of years now with here in Denver, and with the Denver Comic Con and now Pop Culture Con. And I didn't know this until I started doing some research on what all they have there, but they got a huge STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts and math, huge laboratory that they set up that's just for kids while they're there, that they can go in and they can do these things and learn these different things. And there's some guests, different stuff that pop in there and surprise them, and a lot of that stuff. And to me, that's cooler than even just people being able to go get autographs and pictures with their fans, or, with their favorite, celebrity guest. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's awesome. The more I've researched into this, I'm looking forward to what this weekend brings and kind of what we run into with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, that's why I'm looking forward to more of the fan interaction that we're going to have versus anything else that we're probably going to be doing out there. And like you said, and I'll just reiterate, we have a very busy 3 days. We'll probably start late afternoon, early evening on Friday. carry in all day Saturday, and then most of the day Sunday, obviously, for the 3 days that they're going to be there. So that's it's a very exciting event, and like you said, it's kind of cool that normal people, everyday people you wouldn't expect to be doing that will be able to go and kind of nerd out a little bit, geek out a little bit, and kind of be their favorite characters for a day or two or three, depending on how often they want to do it. So definitely looking forward to it. And again, I just want to thank you, man, for all the hard work you put in setting this all up. You've been texting me nonstop with updates and new people we've been interviewing, and I've been trying to research these people. So the ones I don't really know very well, just so I don't sound like a fool when I talk to them over the weekend. So thanks for that.
I will be surprised, man, honestly, if during some of these, especially that, a few of the different interviews, I know that you were kind of excited that we did get, and just with who they are, I'll be surprised if you actually get some questions out and actually speak, because as I talked about before, when last year we had the opportunity to go meet Trish Stratus, and you ran like a kid that was scared at Halloween.
I didn't run. I was looking the other direction at other guests that were there and determining the best avenue and how I was going to speak and interact with them. So it'll be okay. I think I'll just kind of follow your lead like I do on the show here, and I think it'll work out fine for us.
Hey, and I got to say, man, we got Mark Grove, Sarah Salazar. Like I said, they're two. They do stunt work. Mark Grove owns one of the biggest stunt companies here in Colorado. They're going to be there doing a lot of their stuff, talking about some of the series that they're doing. We're going to sit down with them on Sunday morning with that, and I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna see if they can teach Stuntman Kirk how to be an actual stuntman. And I'm assuming to carry that name, you gotta hold a little bit more there. So we're gonna see if we can get Mark Gross and Sarah Salazar to sign off on that. And doctor you even temporarily or on a light level as officially Stuntman Kirk, and kind of make that official. And hopefully if they do something fun with that, we can throw it up there on social media and have some fun that way too.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know me personally or even semi-personally, you have to understand that the name Stuntman is very, very facetious. I have never, ever partaken in anything remotely dangerous or life-threatening by choice. So hopefully we'll come out of that segment or those interviews safe and in one piece. So
you'll be safe and in one piece, I'm sure. I mean, I'm assuming you'll be scared and I'll be laughing, and we'll hopefully have a coming out of it. All right. Anything you want to talk about Denver Pulp Culture Con coming up in just a couple days?
Nope. Just reiterate what you said. We're going to be packed and have a lot to talk about here. So please listen. We'll have a lot of good interviews. There'll be quick interviews, so it's not anything you're going to have to listen to at work for 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to be moving pretty quick. So please, if you're a listener to our show or you are interested in the guests that we're going to be interviewing, make sure you download and listen, and we'll just do our best to make sure it's an entertaining show.
No, it's going to be fun, and I think we'll have some stuff up this weekend. Probably some recaps, maybe with me and you, and throw in a little bit of some interviews, maybe some clips of some of them. But I think really what we'll try to do is, next week you're out on vacation, going to go, slum it up in Orlando. Go have some fun out in Universal and everywhere else. And I think what we'll probably do is set up some of these full interviews to kind of play throughout the week, and maybe a daily type thing, and kind of play them out that way and see how it kind of plays out and what all we get. And who knows what else we'll get. I mean, obviously schedules are subject to change and things can always flip flop with some of that. A lot of other interviews we're waiting on here, and if we can get to get them locked in, get some other stuff confirmed. But I think it's gonna be fun. I think we're gonna have probably an overload of content between Friday night into the following, a whole week later. So it's going to be fun. I don't believe there's too much thing, I don't believe there's a thing as too much content. So I think it's going to be fun. Guys, we are going to take a break, but when we come back right here on the show, we are going to talk the Denver Broncos and what the heck is going on with the Chris Harris situation. This is the show. We'll be right back.
The show with your hosts, Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk. We'll be right back.
Do you have Netflix and Hulu?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, you.
Yeah, I have Netflix and Hulu.
Great. How about Amazon Prime, Google Play?
Pretty sure my wife has those. Who are you?
Well, all of that is just fine. Now it's time to get Asai TV. Asai TV has hundreds of hours of all original commercial-free entertainment, only $2.99, available on Roku and at AsaiTV.com. That's ASYTV.com.
Okay, cool. AsaiTV.com and Roku. I'll definitely check it out.
You damn right you're gonna check it out.
Okay, how did you get in my house? Gentlemen, we are back on the show, and it is
back to the show. Here's your hosts, Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk.
What's going on with the Broncos and Chris Harris and all these rumors?
Yeah, so for those who aren't up to speed, obviously, the 104.3 The Fan has reported, and it's been picked up by other media outlets, that, and actually, we should also be clear that this actually started in God, I can't think of the publication, so I don't know if I don't want to butcher that. So, but this has basically been reported everywhere right now that the Broncos are, I guess, close to a 1-year extension with Chris Harris, or not extension, but rather a pay raise for just this year, where he'll be the highest paid cornerback in the NFL in all likelihood, but barring a franchise tag at the end of the 2019 season, looks like he's going to be one and done, or at least one more year done in Denver following the 2019 year. So very, very bizarre that the Broncos would agree to this. They really hold all the cards in this standoff that they have, if you want to call it that, not showing up to volunteer workouts, standoff. But it kind of raises the question of why the Broncos would give Chris Harris Jr. that much more money just for a 1-year deal. Obviously Chris Harris Jr. is getting up there in age. Maybe the Broncos feel like, cornerback approaching 31 years old isn't the best player to give, I guess, that kind of money to on a more long-term deal. And then it also tells you that they don't want any distractions and they don't want any issues or holdouts this year. They just want to go into this year and try to get their head back above water and try to have a successful year. And having Chris Harris Jr. here for one more year to do that, I think kind of helps them accomplish that. Now, with the quarterback situation in Denver, I mean, realistically, they don't have anyone else on the roster, I don't think, that compares to Chris Harris Jr., but they're actually pretty well, I guess, established, or at least well, I guess talent-wise, they're well off in that area. So I think maybe they're looking more towards the future, that they'll have players that they've drafted over the last couple of years that will be able to step in and play well for them, or they won't have to spend the kind of money that Chris Harris Jr. is asking for. But it's very, very bizarre that, for a team that really had all the cards and all the leverage, they would even approach a pay raise if it wasn't for a more long-term deal, because really this all favors Chris Harris Jr. because he gets to be the highest paid player in the NFL this year. Basically, it's kind of the equivalent to a franchise tag. And then, then next year he's free agent. He can go wherever he wants. So as long as he plays well and stays healthy, then this is a totally great deal for him. So definitely bizarre. I'm not really happy with it because it does feel like the Chris Harris Jr. era in Denver, the no-fly zone will be coming to an end after the 2019 season. And I would love to hear from John Elway to figure out exactly what went into the thought process of these negotiations. I doubt we'll get a full, honest answer. But it's definitely I'm perplexed by it, and I would be curious to know going forward the news that comes out and what went on with their thought process with it. The Broncos, that is.
Yeah, and I just, I don't get it at all. I really don't, because that's not business. That's not how you do things typically. That's not how the NFL typically works. That's not how it's always been. So I mean, I don't want to say it's necessarily a horribly bad thing that they're doing this, if that's what it is. If it truly is, there's nothing else tied into it besides just we're giving him more money. Especially if it's just straight up guaranteed, that's even more surprising. But if that's what they wind up doing, then that's definitely going to be a very surprising, thing just to kind of see. Because that's next. I mean, it definitely throws me off, and I'm even at a loss for words with it, just because that's not how it typically works. That's not how business works, and I don't get what the Broncos gain out of it. Besides, you don't have some of those things hanging out there, distractions going on, and everything else. But that's a distraction on Harris. But then what happens when Derek Wolfe says the same thing now? Hey, I want more money. You did that to Harris. Throw me an extra $1 million. Or you get more people doing that, wanting more for 1 year without anything there. That starts becoming something that's a concern that could happen. And it's definitely it's going to be interesting to see. I do think with how much media attention this has got in Denver and in Colorado overall, and really everywhere, that I would be very surprised if Elway doesn't come out and address it and talk about it after a deal is done and explain what they were looking at doing. And even if it's just, hey, we just want to get him locked up, he does deserve that extra money. Maybe the whole point of that is to give a little bit of good faith to him and to some of the other guys that, hey, look, we will take care of you if you do a hometown deal in the beginning. We'll take care of you a little bit later on, and we'll try to, balance it out and fix it. And maybe the whole goal is if they give him a little bit now, then they talk about a couple year extension or something after this season or later in this year, and go that route. Maybe that's what they're looking at. Who knows? But it's very surprising. I mean, that's not the news we expected for Chris Harris. I mean, we expected it's going to be, like I said, Broncos hold the cards, and if Harris chose not to show up, well, he doesn't just get a pass and like, okay, well, you didn't show up for the Broncos at all this year. Your contract's done. He still sits on the hook for that season. If he doesn't show up, he has to show up by a certain point to get credit for the year and for that to count. And if he didn't, then he loses it and has to do it all over again next year. So he was going to show up at some point to play. It does add the distraction there for the Broncos and, issues there, and I get that. But to me, it's very surprising that they went that, from what it sounds like, that they're going with this method instead of a just, hey, come play and we'll figure it out. But if you're not going to show up, we ain't going to play. That's what they did with Von Miller. It was, hey, you got to show up, you got to do it. They did the same thing with DT. Show up here and show us you actually want to play. So for them to, kind of switch it all up now, it's very surprising. And it's definitely not how the Broncos have been, not how Elway's been. And it's just a surprising thing of going, what is going on and what's going to happen next.
Well, and, like I said, it's a deal that totally favors Chris Harris Jr. So I can't imagine he won't agree to it, even though it doesn't really give him security beyond this year. I mean, he gets hurt that first game of the season or, mid-season or whatever, and the Broncos go on without him. Then going into next year, or I should say the 2020 season, what he's looking for, is it going to be as much as I think he's expecting? So, like I said, I'll let it play out. I'm at least glad that it seems like for this season, it's not going to be a distraction, even though I think the questions will still be asked. Maybe that's what the Broncos were trying to accomplish. Maybe they just didn't want to have people asking, where's Chris Harris Jr.? If the season got off to a bad start, or if for whatever reason, he got hurt or anything, it kind of doesn't protect him in that sense. But I don't know. We'll see what ultimately happens. I think it's hopefully still going to work out that Chris Harris Jr. retires or ends his career as a Denver Bronco. I don't want him see him play for anyone else, but it just really feels like we're fast approaching the end of an era and the end of Chris Harris Jr. no-fly zone. But I'm still excited about this team's prospects going forward. I still think that they're very talented, especially in the secondary and the front line. So I think they'll still be okay despite all that. I just wish something more long term could have been developed, and I really like to know what transpired that led them to decide that this was a better deal for them or a better option for them than just giving him a raise long term or giving him an extension long term, I should say. So.
Well, and hopefully there is something. I mean, we always know that what we hear kind of out there is put out by an agent or mentioned by somebody usually isn't exactly what it wound up being. I could see it being a case that maybe they give Harris a little bit more money on the guarantee part, but maybe the most of that money is tied into performance. And hey, if you play at the level that you have been playing at, then, that's what we're going to look at doing. And we're going to give you that, that extra money there. And, you'll earn it that way. Maybe that's what they're going for. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It sounds like they're closer and closer to a deal. So hopefully by the time, we get to this weekend even where, there's something there to talk a little bit more about. And I mean, by all means, if that happens, Comic-Con, Pop Culture Con or not, we're going to make sure we, throw some Bronco news out there because that is something we talk about and something we both enjoy talking about. But it's definitely a interesting situation and a development that none of us really expected to hear, that they were just going to, potentially throw some more money at Harris to get him to be happy. It's going to be interesting to see. What else is there Bronco wise? Anything sitting there?
No, by all accounts, Joe Flacco and the offense is looking great. It's practice and OTAs, so it's mini camp, so you can't really read a lot into that. We'll have to see how training camp unfolds, I should say, and then how the preseason develops into the new year. Obviously, the new offense, even an offense that Joe Flacco is familiar with, you kind of expect some wrinkles or some hiccups along the way, but that's good news coming out of this is that he's playing well. He's establishing himself as the premier quarterback on roster. All the Andrew Luck talk can kind of take a minute or a breath here while Joe Flacco develops into this offense. So I'm looking forward to that. I need to see some improvement in this offense. I'm just tired of seeing this offense struggle the way they have, even going back to our Super Bowl year, that it's just been one of the worst I've seen consistently as a Broncos fan ever. So I'm hoping now that with an established quarterback, maybe not in the same vein or conversation as Peyton Manning, but at least, I guess, in the conversation of an established, proven veteran superstar, that we have a little bit more consistency and a little bit more points scored on offense. Because I really can't take the, 13, 17 points a game that we've been dealing with kind of consistently over the last 4 or 5 years.
No, I agree. And I do think that, I do think that there is something to be said with having a good quarterback that has that knowledge, that history, has been in that position and done it. I think it's going to be good. I do think that with Flacco there, it's going to be a good situation. I think it's a whole lot better than where we were at. And hopefully it, shows that way. Practice has sound like it's been good. It sounds like OTAs have gone good and everyone's playing at a high level and they're making and pushing it to be at that high level. Hopefully that continues to play out that way. And hopefully it plays out that way when it counts, not just in practice, but we heard that plenty of times last year. They had a great week of practice and then they came out and gave up 50 points and scored 10. So hopefully the good week of practice isn't the thing. Hopefully it's, execution at the end of it. And we're not making whatever mistakes or whatever poor play they made. Hopefully all that stuff is fixed and it goes forward. And that all sits at the quarterback position. It starts there, it plays there. And that's where it has to build from. And I think that, we have the pieces, it seems like there, but with how the last few seasons have gone, as much as I have felt like in the past we've had the same things, I'm kind of being cautious a little bit about jumping straight in and saying I feel like this is going to be a great season. until we really get to see how it plays when we hit training camp, when we hit, preseason and get to see how some of that plays. And really until we get to week 1 and we kind of see what they come out with, I just am kind of holding my breath on it.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think they're in a prove it to me kind of situation right now. They can't just, go out there and, with this team and practice and say, oh no, we're going to be better. We heard that, like you said, we heard that last year and it resulted in a net of 1 extra win from the year before. Now, I do believe the coaching staff's improved. I do believe they have drafted a lot better the last 2 years than they did the previous 2 or 3 years. But I definitely have to see what they're saying translate into production on the field, especially on the offensive side of the football, because that's where this team has faltered, and that's where this team has let down the fans, and that's where the team needs to improve on. Because all the talk about the defense, and I've heard criticisms about the defense, and some of that is fair. This is still has been a playoff caliber defense for the last 3 years that they've missed the playoffs since the Super Bowl 50 victory. And they may not be elite or historic like they were in 2015, but they're definitely good enough to win in the NFL and win the playoffs. And it's the offense that's been letting them down and screwing them over. So I need to see that do well. I need to see that, translate on the field before I really feel good about where this team is going.
No, I'm right there with you. And, it's just kind of the way history has been with it. But, we'll see. There's a lot of, practice and time and everything kind of coming up as we go. But, it's exciting to see what we have going on so far with the Broncos, at least compared to where it has been. And it's nice to have the feeling that the right pieces are actually there and we're not just kind of giving false hope. But, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with it. What else we got?
That's all I got, sir, for this show. So we have wrestling tonight and tomorrow. It doesn't look like we're going to get to a wrestling show, unfortunately, or wrestling talk, I should say, in the next couple of weeks, which is unfortunate because we do have the big show next Friday. Not the actual big show wrestler to interview with, but WWE show Friday the 7th, which I will not be in town for, unfortunately. So I'll leave that up to you whether or not you want to do a solo show discussing that by yourself on either Saturday or Sunday. But so unfortunately, we won't be able to talk any wrestling for the next couple of weeks, but we will definitely get into the Pop Culture Con this weekend, and we'll go from there.
I'm right there with you. We will see, guys, what we can do when it comes to talking some wrestling and that. But most importantly, thank you guys for listening. It's been a great episode. Overall, thank you guys for listening. Check us out on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Follow us on there if you haven't. Subscribe and download the episodes, guys. It's been trending well. We're sorry for the drop off. It's been a little over a week now. But everything's going good. It's going to ramp up this week. Lots of stuff coming for, when it comes to Denver Pop Culture Con. It's going to be a great weekend. And I think next week we're going to, have an overload of content, which is always a good thing to have. So overall, guys, once again, I said it multiple times. We'll say it one more time. Thank you guys for listening. It's been a great episode. I am Hollywood JDT. He is Stuntman Kirk. We will catch you guys this weekend.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Show with Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk. Want to stay in the know on all things sports, wrestling, movies, and TV? Follow the show on social media at The Show Podcast. If you like today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on The Show.
This has been a Phonetics production.